Here.
Proudy?
Here.
Mrs. Smith?
Present. Could you all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have before you the previous minutes. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion in 2 seconds. Could we have roll call, please?
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Rob Cruz?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Proudy?
Aye.
Melissa Smith?
Aye. You have the agenda before you. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Madam President, I would like to add action item C for the release agreement with the City of Fort Morgan to the agenda, please.
Is that a motion?
It is a motion to add.
May I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Rob Cruz?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Proudy?
Aye.
Melissa Smith?
Aye. So now that we have the added table file, the agenda has been changed. May I have a motion for the agenda itself?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Rob Cruz?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Proudy?
Aye.
Melissa Smith?
Aye. Next is the opportunity for the audience. Is there anyone who wants to come forward with any comments? Okay, moving right along. Next we have the board. Actually get that up there. Chris, I believe you have a report?
Had a BOCES meeting last Thursday. It seems like within all the districts, everyone's having trouble getting bus drivers. Everyone said bus drivers, bus drivers, bus drivers. Briggsdale people are all real excited because they got their concealed carry signs. In Mark's report, he said we're gonna, with the PD training, it's gonna be remote and online through the school year and then face-to-face in the summer. And then that's about it.
Okay. Nancy, do you have a report?
You all received the CASB proposals that are coming up for the delegate assembly that will be in October, and I just want to either offer, if you read through those and you have any questions or comments that you want me to take back as your voting delegate, please do so, or suggest that we have a work session so that you can review those and we discuss. It's the pleasure of the board. I just want to make sure that I'm representing you all accurately when I attend.
So yeah, we can have a work session if that's what everyone desires, or if there's not really much discussion, I don't think we need to on that. Look them over, let Nancy know. Anyone else have a report for the board? Okay, moving along to the superintendent report. Mr. Sanders.
Yes, I'm not in bed today, obviously,
Yeah.
so that's kind of nice. Well, I wanted to start out with just the 4-day week discussion process, and I think tonight is more about just orienting you to what is in your board packet and what information is there, whether you have questions about it, whether you want anything additional added to it, but then it really comes down to, at that point when we go down into the discussion portion, whether or not we want to have a work session prior to the next couple of meetings. I think it's best that we spend a little time talking about it and then wait until that November meeting just before Thanksgiving to take a vote on it, and then either vote on it or not. And then if we do, then we go to work. If we don't, we go back to work and make the best 5-day week we can. So that's how I think that should probably look from here on out. So if you have any questions about that, feel free. We do have Mr. Grallis and Mr. Campbell and, why am I, Mr. Anderson. That, you know, what's bad about that
What's
is
his name?
that's my wife's last name.
The guy in the middle.
So, I'm here to talk to you a little bit about girls wrestling at Fort Morgan. It was brought to me, and I'm not gonna steal their thunder, so was brought to me, and I'm pretty excited about that opportunity to be able to present to you through these guys. We wanted to let you know that there are 3 RFPs that are gonna go out in the near future. We would ask the board, it ultimately comes down to a decision from the board, if we could change banks or look at changing banks, and I think the county just did it. So the county has helped us with a RFP so we can put out to local banks to have them provide services and compete. And so we would like to see that happen. We're looking at the HVAC RFP, which I'm in contact with the engineer that did the work last year. We were told that we don't have to go out to bid for another engineer because it was just signed back in April or May of last year. I think it was April. And so we want to put that back out again, and I want to cast a little wider net than what we had previously, and hopefully we can find some more contractors out there that will bid on that process and get that done. However, I do want you to know that everybody has told us, regardless of what you do, you're about 12 to 14 months out on any delivery of any kind of units that you might be getting. So just being aware of that. And the other thing, I know that Tony's going to talk a little bit about Legion Field, but we're still waiting for it to be deeded over to us. Once that's done, we will put bids out and get the soccer field going and the bathroom upgrades and the visiting bleachers and all that stuff. So wanted you to be aware of that. So any questions on any of the 3 of those?
If only we had a city councilman here that
Holy
could push
cow.
something.
Call them out.
We might have a new city manager tomorrow night, so work on it.
So,
Just putting it out there in the universe.
so if I could get like a consensus on, are we okay to start looking out for all 3 of these services and bring them back to you when we do get the bids and see what we've got?
We need to wait on the football field upgrades to,
That I don't know. We haven't talked about that
already
yet.
own that property.
Well, I think part of it is it has to be one big RFP. And so the problem, as I see it, is us not owning the property yet officially. It's kind of hard to put a bid out. It's kind of like me renting a house and then selling it and then trying to explain that to my landlord would be kind of difficult. And I know it's just minor details that need to be worked out, but in the big scheme of things, weird things can happen. And so I'd rather not go to a bunch of work, have it all planned out, and then all of a sudden something not happen or be extended a little further. I want it in our hands before we actually make the move. Is that,
Well, that was I mean, the football property we own,
yes.
so like the bleachers and those type of things, we could proceed on those. if
You
it was a
could.
lengthy delay,
You-
unless you're planning on bidding that in a big lump.
So I
sum.
think we want to bid it in a big lump sum, just so that we can get I think you can get a better price for them if you do it in a lump sum, potentially. That's my opinion anyway, my experience has been. And I just did build a field, not a soccer field, but we found that it was better to put things together.
And if anyone can explain why that deed hasn't been signed over already, I would love to hear it, because why hasn't it?
I would only be talking rumor now, so I don't
We
know.
started that when I was on the board
Eons
before I was
ago.
officer.
Yeah. I think it's a matter of paperwork at this point, and that's what it's just going to take, so.
I can explain.
You know the answer, Clint?
I mean,
Are we recording?
I'll try to limp through this. So my understanding is there was a lot of, the survey took a really long time to get it mapped out. There's a lot of undefined areas and easements with the railroad right there and the different properties, and then the county building that was gonna stay, the county buildings, and just everything getting all the Ts crossed and the Is dotted. So my understanding, the survey work took a long time in order for it to get turned over to because it's been 4 years ago, I think, on the ballot issue, so it's taken a really long time.
Thank you.
Yes. That was somewhat my understanding too, so I think it's just a matter of getting it done. And I think it will be, and I think it will be probably in the relatively near future, I hope. And then you'll see those go out for bid. The other thing we have here, scoreboards at the gym at the Fort Morgan High School. We have worked, I know that Mr. Anderson, what's your name again? Mr. Anderson has worked with some local businesses that are going to donate some dollars to help purchase 2 scoreboards at the high school. State-of-the-art video, very nice scoreboards. So they'll be hopefully here next month to present to you the donations for acceptance, or how do we go about that here in Fort Morgan, which I think it'll be really nice for our gym up there. I had Commissioner, I can't, Rep. Becker, John? Yeah, I think it was Rep. Becker, because that's all I worked with him as. So Commissioner Becker, he gave me a call the other day about Legion Field and access to it. Apparently, they're going to be doing some construction on the county building that is right there at the entryway, and they're going, I called him back. I've not heard back from him yet. But I want to know where it's going to be, you know, chained off, where it's, what the access is going to look like, whether we need to have another access point, what exactly has to happen there. Hopefully we can just use the same entry, and then they just work with us on that piece. But I don't know, they're going to be doing some construction there, and apparently converting that to the coroner's office, or coroner's.
What's their property line in that building?
I don't know that right now.
They said that when I talked at the chamber on Thursday, when I talked to you, I think, they said that there's some blue markings that they wanted Mr. Sanders to come and take a look at, so.
Oh.
I have not been over there since. That's what they were supposed to call it. That's why they called you, to
Oh,
come
great.
look at some
Okay.
blue markings. So that's probably the part of the message that I didn't not relay. I haven't been over there, so.
Yeah. I'll go look at the blue markings.
Tell them with a little cooperation on some neighboring property cleanup, we might be able to accommodate their request.
I think one's county and one's
Just a
city.
little
I think
cooperation, maybe?
it's
Yeah.
city,
Yeah.
hopefully.
That's the problem, we don't know whose properties. Yes.
Yeah. Is it county?
Those are counties. 3 lots.
Okay.
Way down.
Yeah. So that's what I know about that at this point. I'm hoping it doesn't shut off some of our access. I know we have not very many home games this year. However, we do have some junior high home games that may be impacted, whether or not it's, I don't know how soon they're wanting to do it. They didn't get any of those details. I just wanted you to be aware that if you see fences going around there, that's what's going on. And as soon as I get the information, I'll pass it on to you. The other thing I want to really visit with you about is, and maybe even, well, one of the things that I think we're really poor at in education is we don't do enough of tooting our own horns. We don't like to put out there the good things we do, and typically we're playing defense because what gets out there is the bad stuff. And then we're spending all our time trying to backpedal and trying to figure out how we're going to deal with that issue. And then that's what gets out in the community. And when we went to Akron, I talked to a few of you about this over at the time, and I haven't done anything with it yet because I wanted to have the whole board and have this conversation about the possibility of looking at a part-time public relations person, because I believe that, well, I know that social media is really kind of taking over the world. And I would like to get out in front of this a little bit, and I would like to have somebody hired part-time that all they do is deal with our Snapchat and Twitter, and if I knew what they all were, I'd know, Face Chat, you know, all that stuff. Get ahead of all that stuff and just inundate our community with the positive, great things we've got going on in the community, also working on the website to do some videos, do some different things, to let people know that we really have some great people, kids, adults, teachers, and just put it out there. And for every one bad thing that's out there, I'd like to see 10 really great things that are out there. And so I think the only way we can do that is have somebody who, that's their focus, is once a week, they're going around to every principal and they're saying, what you got going on here? We're writing a cover story, we're doing this. And I don't want it to be all about sports. I want it to be about Fort Morgan. I want it to be about Morgan County RE3, what we're doing here. We had a great, what was the girls' run over there at Columbine? We had, we had the Baker Bash, and Mr. Daniel, he got hit in the face 400 times with a pie, and why isn't some of that out there and being highlighted? And I just feel like we can start taking control of that narrative in that way. So do we have that as an action item down here, or is that a discussion?
Just discussion.
Just discussion. So that would lead us to the discussion item later, and that's why it's there. The other thing here, next thing is our Colorado Department of Education. We have an adjunct instructor license, and that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. We had some conversations, but then I met with people from the union, and one of their concerns was, as mine too, was that we weren't, by putting people on an adjunct license and starting them on step one of the salary scale. So an adjunct license you can get if we're like a paraprofessional in a classroom, and you did it for 5 years or more, and you were very successful, and either the principal thought that you could do the job. And so CDE this year came out with this adjunct license, and you can actually give somebody that license, and that gives them the ability to teach on their own in a classroom for 3 years, and they can only get 2 of the adjunct licenses, so they get 6 years on it. And so one of the things that came out was that we started them on step one of the teacher salary scale. Probably should have rethought that a little bit in terms of the 4-year degree does mean something. And I think that we need to make sure that we honor that. And so I think as I looked at a solution for this, I think our best solution is to the current people who are on it. I think I don't know if I need to get into how many we have, but not very many right now, is to freeze them. I don't want to take away what we've already given. That's not fair to them. That's not fair. That was my fault for missing it. But I think we need to freeze people at that currently. And then next year when we bring them in, we look at putting them on the long-term 3-year sub pay, which is about 85% of the base, which comes about 37.3, roughly, right? Okay. And so I think that is a nice compromise. And that's about what our base was last year. So I think it's a reasonable compromise. I just want you to be aware that that's what we'd like to do, and I'm really considering, and in case anybody comes to you about, why did this happen this way? And it's not rampant. It did happen though. So once you're aware. Thoughts on that?
Well, I'm just curious, so these adjunct folks, then what is the expectation on them are they to work towards a license then? Or
There is no
just a-
requirement that they have to work toward the licensure. And because they are technically licensed by the department, they don't have to get into the alternative licensure program either. They could, but they wouldn't, because they're already in the licensure process, we would not receive any grant money because of it.
Right. There is an advantage, the built-in incentive is that the adjunct license is just for Fort Morgan School District, so
Right.
they can't leave our district. So their incentive is to continue to keep pushing toward a license so that they do hold a license that they can take anywhere with them.
And so my follow-up question would be, because, well, if anyone thinks teaching is easy, then they haven't been in the classroom. So my concern is, what support are we offering these individuals, if any, for them to be somewhat successful and want to continue to pursue that?
Yeah,
And I'm
no.
not sure whom I'm asking the question to.
In both of these cases, these were people that we employed last year in the same position as long-term subs. And so they've already built relationships with their coaches, they've already built relationships with their principals, and they're folks that
they were successful last year, they're going to be successful this year. They're quality people.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
And I think one of the things that I'm really proud of here is the fact that even, there is a lot of support for people, and we try to continue to find more ways to support people. And I think if we see somebody who's struggling, we'll find ways to get support to them. So, questions on that?
So I'm assuming it's an at-will position though, too? It's a year-to-year?
It's a teacher contract position, and they are, they're treated as probationary teachers.
So you'd fall under the
So-
probationary statutes, yeah.
Rules, yeah.
But that would remain as long as they were on the adjunct license? I mean, if they did 6 years,
Correct. So you bring up a great point that on the first day of their 4th year of teaching, they become non-probationary. And so we'll have to cross that bridge about whether we want to recommend them for a second round of alternative license, or, adjunct license, or not.
I mean, I hope that they would start pursuing a degree if that's what they
Yeah,
want to do.
and on the pursuit of the degree, we're making inroads with partnership with Western, and they came to us and said, look, we can do a general studies degree online for your folks. We'll even cut them a little bit of a tuition break, and part of their general studies Bachelor of Arts will be a teaching in service, so 27 credits will actually be practicum work, and so we're exactly on the same page. We know that we need to get our folks from AA, associate's degree, to bachelor's and get them licensed, and so Jen Kroll has been a super addition to the staff, and she helped make that connection, and I think she's going to help to build our capacity that way. So yes, we're thinking along exactly the same thoughts, that we need to get people from
So one
A
more
to B.
follow-up question
Yeah.
then. So how are they evaluated? Is it through RANDA on a teacher evaluation
Correct. Through
protocol?
RANDA. Yep.
Yes.
By the building principal?
Correct.
Perfect, thank
It's
you.
the same,
Yep.
yeah,
Same
it would be the
protocol.
same process.
Yep.
Because right now, they're considered fully licensed.
They are.
Well, and I would think that would be the process,
Mhm.
just checking.
And we would hope that you wouldn't recommend somebody who wasn't ready to do that.
Well, I would hope so.
So I think we got some pretty good people in some positions there. And thank goodness we have that pipeline. So it's getting harder and harder to find people. So any more questions on that? Next one, I just wanted you to be aware, Chris is preaching to the choir. The bus drivers, we've had some shortages here. You may or may not hear about them, but I've been working with Dan quite a bit. We got into an agreement with both Brush, Wiggins, well, all 3 Brush, Wiggins, and Weldon Valley to borrow a bus driver if we need to, and we talked to CDE. CDE said it was perfectly fine. You just transfer the paperwork over, pay them how you need to pay them. We've already taken advantage of one gentleman from Wiggins who's come over and driven some of our activities, and he's wanting to drive a few more. I just think it's a good opportunity to find more people to help us out. So, yeah, thank goodness we found that.
So one of the things that I was approached about was when we're having coaches drive, they're not getting any additional stipend for that.
They should be.
They are getting paid for that time.
Are they?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
they should be.
timesheet them for that time. So they get stipended over 12 months if they're teachers. They get stipended over 12 months. If they're coaching from outside in the community, then at the end of the activity, we pay them the stipend, and then we timesheet them for their driving. And we started that last year.
Last week?
Last year.
Last year?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't know that the
It
coaches.
had not been in effect for a long time, and last year we
Because I was
got,
approached and just told them that they
yeah,
were told to
we,
drive, but they're not getting any additional funds to do that.
yeah, so we timesheet them for their driving now.
Okay.
Yep.
So one of the things that we talked about, and I visited at our supervisory meeting, was that we needed to have some coaches maybe drive it. But there's some rules, the Department of Transportation has some rules about on and off time, and you have to have so much downtime before you can actually drive, and so you gotta be real careful with those hours. But it was mentioned at that meeting that if we can get some of the bus drivers to come and take the small vehicle training, we would trade out a day, have Dan come in on a Saturday, he could take a Friday off or something like that. We can get 15 drivers trained to drive. And at that time, we talked about the fact that they were stipend to drive. I don't know if, so I don't know how that got communicated back to the coaches, but hopefully we get some people take advantage of that so that we can start having some of them drive with smaller groups. Because we're finding that it's really hard to find activity drivers and route drivers and when you're already thin. So, questions? The COVID leave. I thought it was over. And I called. It was the strangest thing. I called and I was told that in the state of Colorado it was supposed to be in effect until 30 days, until after the governor proclaimed it not an emergency, state of emergency anymore, which happened a while ago. And then I was told, well, it's the federal government who hasn't taken the state of emergency off. So the pay is still in effect. If you get COVID, you don't have to take your personal or sick days. You have up to 80 hours. It's not renewable. It's just 80 hours that you get. That is still in effect until November, I believe, of this year, and they will actually, November 10th, I think they're actually going to either extend it or drop it, and I'm not sure what they'll do at this point. So I think last spring, mentioned that COVID pay was no longer there, and now we're going to have to just backtrack, and we'll take care of whatever we need to take care of to make it right with the employees, teachers, and paras.
How are you
Excuse
going
me?
to know?
Excuse me?
How will you know?
Well, I think they have track of it, and
Oh, you-
Yeah, so what, we contacted all the principals and secretaries and made sure that we had names of everybody in August and September who were out sick with COVID. And we just went back in and changed that sick leave to COVID leave and just put that sick leave back to credited back to their accounts. So we took care of that for this pay period.
okay. And second to last thing, Learning 2025, I was approached last summer by Bill Daggett. He is an educational expert, and he has put together these consortium of different state schools, and they get together and they support each other with projects. And so we were invited to a session at Case this last summer, and we had several of our administrators go, and they were all impressed by what was said. Colorado does not have this consortium yet. He wants to start the consortium, and he wants Fort Morgan to be a part of that consortium, and I would like to be a part of that consortium. But what it is it's a group of principals, superintendents, and potentially even board members across the nation that are on similar size, similar school, similar demographics with your district or your school. And if, let's say, for example, we've got our dual immersion school over here and we want to do some things with it, and we don't have anybody we can talk to find out how to maybe do something a little bit different or maybe take it to the next level, we can put Mrs. Garvin in contact with, maybe there's one in Washington State that's been doing it for 15 years that now they're a mentor to each other and they can work together. There's 3 different levels of support. The first level I don't think I would want to be a part of because it's just a cursory, be able to sit and watch people talk. You can't really communicate. There's a second level, which is more, but that is more support, more in-person stuff. It allows us to have some coaches that will come from the organization. One of the coaches is actually the ex-commissioner of education for the state of New York. She was really interesting to hear speak. And then there's a third level, which is one I don't think I would want to get into because I think it's not as cost effective as the second level. I think when we were talking this last summer, I just kept saying, Bill, well, how much is this going to cost us? And at that point, it was so new that he wasn't 100% sure. So he thinks that the first initial level is going to be about $3,000 for a district. He thinks the second level was going to be about $10,000. And then the third level, he didn't even put a number on yet. So I was like, I'm not sure I want to wait for that one. But I think in talking to The principals that attended that session are all excited about the possibility of joining this group, and me too. So I'm bringing it to you to let you know that there's a possibility we might go down this route and be asking for that to happen, for more support. Again, it's supporting our people and putting them, one of the things that I'm looking at is sometimes our principals don't get as much support as I think we should give them. And so this is an opportunity to help mentor our principals in a way that I think they need. So
What is the term of a membership? Is it 1 year?
it's 1
Is
year, I
it
believe.
Just 1 year?
Yeah, I
So
believe
with
so.
that-
I'd have to get more details, but I think it's 1 year, and there's some kind of conference in Washington DC, but it does bring together hundreds of schools at one point, and gives them an opportunity to network and help to advance something that you're working on in your own school. So I didn't mean to cut you off, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I was wondering if it would be something that we would foresee as like renewing every year and incurring that charge, or if it would be, maybe we try it out the first year, do a lot of networking, and then,
Me personally, I'm gonna try it out the first year and see what happens, and if it doesn't work out the way we'd envisioned it, then we do something different. But right now, based on who's running it, I think it's gonna be some quality, some professional development for our people.
So you mentioned Colorado's not in it. How many states are in it, do you know?
Gosh, several, I can't say at the top of my head. It was a pretty big, were you in that session?
I think he's got 10 states.
Yeah.
He's really doing some nice research.
Mm.
It's, would be not the beginning, but, the front end of doing some
Mm.
really good research.
So again, for me, it's about getting like minds together to think through problems. So, and then, so any more questions on that?
do you have all that information with the,
I can send
like
you.
to send it?
I can send you the
I'd be
links.
curious on that, too.
Absolutely. I think it's really
Thank
good
you.
stuff. And then just a big thank you for the donations of school supplies to Amy Grantham and to Banner Health, I believe. Was it Banner?
I didn't do anything with Banner, but.
Oh, well,
we-
Banner also did. Yes, also did some stuff.
We did a small, downtown small business school supply and fundraiser drive, so it was very successful, I think, for the first year. Got a lot of gift cards, and we decided to focus it this year, and instead of just getting nonsensical items, we asked our principals what they needed the most, and went through that list, and so that was pretty much what we asked for.
That's great. It's a lot of good stuff. A lot of good school supplies for the kids, and got the principals to do some shopping. So it was nice.
We anticipate growth of the fundraiser next year. And
That's
I
great.
think actually, talking with some of the downtown businesses, they were hoping to do something around Christmas as well, because they're really trying to grow the downtown businesses, and so I think, watch for that around Christmas time. Might do something cool,
Great.
give back to the teachers, help them out.
And that is my report.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Moving along to Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Assessment, Dr. Fresco.
Hello. Just a quick update about Gifted and Talented. As you know, we had a departure from Miranda Harper, and we really know that how important the programming is. And so we have lots of heads together right now. So Cindy Bruntz has come out of retirement, just part-time. And so between Shelley, myself, Jaylyn, and Cindy, we are strategizing how to move forward with not just programming, but we know we're actually going to be audited next year. And so I am meeting with CDE. I'm meeting with someone tomorrow about just submitting the budget by September 30th. But just first and foremost, if you hear things out, we have given Cindy the priority task of looking into advanced learning plans, our ALPs. We have a lot of them. We've been networking with some other directors in the northeast part of the state. And so she met with Jaylyn and Poudre School District last week to look at their system to see how we could streamline things and make things a little easier. We have talked with
Principals, elementary buildings have a person. I think if you remember after Chelsea departed the enrichment position, we actually have some people doing programming at the elementaries. We're just trying to really make sure that the ALPs get closer to the school level and not so disconnected, because we know that the teachers have those kiddos in their classroom. And so we're trying to ask for some grace and patience while we move through that process. But also, we have maintained our participation from Baker, Pioneer, and Columbine. It's almost every week on Monday. We're part of this iReach project. We have been, this is year 3, and so we all sit in a Zoom almost every Monday from 4 to 5:30 with a very dedicated bunch of teachers who get stipended out for that work. And it's all about looking at identification, especially in our underrepresented populations. And so it's led to a lot of great discussions. And anyhow, so I'll kind of try to keep giving you updates in that world, but I'm going to learn a lot about the intricacies of the GT budget tomorrow, which I have not really ever been a part of. So questions about GT that you're hearing, or the 2022-23 curriculum adoption is science. We did a lot of work this summer. We had Paul Anderson from the Wonder of Science come in and talk about the wonder of science and all of this phenomena, and it was really great. Our teachers, we paid for the day, but they also got paid for planning, and the teachers who stayed the next couple days for planning have seen tremendous things happening in their classroom. So it's all about not just giving kids the answer about why things happen in the world of science. So we're really excited about kind of what kind of hatched in June, and then we'll have the same similar process for curriculum adoption. I am splitting, elementary and secondary. It worked really well for math, but then coming together at the end to see kind of what happens. If I foresee what I think will happen, I don't think we'll be purchasing 1 million textbooks, and really rather go with some open source stuff that Paul Anderson said. So I'll keep you apprised. We just are getting the meeting set. I'm asking for a grade level rep from each elementary building, and then secondary will come together. And so as we work through that process, it's basically based on needs. And because Colorado didn't just adopt NGSS, it's really hard anyway to find something that really just totally aligns with Colorado standards, as you know, like it happens across all the contents. But looking forward to that process. And then finally, if you remember in the spring sometime, the same time I asked for the grant money for math, which we got, in that same application, we were able to ask for K-3 ELA. The only problematic piece to that whole grant was you had to name the program you were going to purchase. Well, math was easy because we were already in the curriculum adoption cycle, but we are using a non-approved READ Act curriculum that we've been utilizing for years. And so met with elementary principals, week and a half ago maybe. Baker's been piloting CKLA through Amplify and seen really good success with it. And so that is the program that the grant will pay for. The timing is a little wonky, so we are going to be purchasing that. And so the rollout will be a little different at each building, as we have to spend those grant dollars by the end of this next fiscal year. And so Baker is implementing, well, they were hoping to implement right away this fall. Everything's on back order with shipping, so we don't have the materials yet. They're supposed to be here by the beginning of October. But so anyway, we're making do right now, but just so you know, if you hear that out there, along with new math, new writing stuff at the elementary, we're just kind of trying to streamline things across our system. So, questions? Great.
Thank you. Moving on to Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Milburn.
Good evening.
First thing, our auditors were here for the initial field work from August 22nd through the 25th. I had requested that they stay a little longer than last year, because in the initial field work, that's when they have you pull checks and they check procedures, and we were having to scan and email all of that the first time, and it just was so time consuming. This was much smoother. If they had a question, we're right there to answer it. It was just a great process. So now we're continuing to work on the trial balance to get that off to them and finish the work papers, but it's going so much smoother, and I really enjoy the auditors that we're working with. And we have a good relationship there. Also, since the last meeting, we had several things go on in the finance department. We were able to fill the assistant payroll position, and what was really encouraging is we had a number of people to choose from. In the past, we might get 1 or 2 resumes. We had a number of people, so we were able to really hone in on what we wanted for that position. We found a lovely young lady for that one. Then after we hired her, we had a resignation in the finance department. And because we had all those other resumes that had come in, we were able to bring people back in, and we filled that position. She started today. And I think we just have a wonderful group of people, and all the positions are full, so we're just ready to move forward full speed, and it's just a really good time for us. Something exciting that our department is planning to do this year, every quarter, Penny and I are going to travel around to each school and meet with the principal and the secretary. And we're going to evaluate where they're at with their budgets, and then maybe get some input about what they're missing in their budgets, how can we do a better job next year. And also, Penny is really good at running reports, so we can sit with them and say, what do you need to get out of Alio that you don't know how to get? And so that's something we're going to do quarterly, and just give them a better understanding of what's going on with that, and I'm excited about that. I think it's going to help me a lot in future budgets also. Let's see. Oh, the last thing was we kind of hit on the city and settling on the paperwork so we could move forward on Legion Field. I'm hoping that happens sooner than later, because we're just going to be ready to move forward, because we do have a timeline with the bond that we need to show progress that we're doing something. So I'm really excited to get going on that, and hopefully we'll see something moving around over there soon. Any questions?
No, but I think that's a wonderful idea with the secretaries. We have so many new ones. I think that's a really good idea, really good strategy.
Thank you.
Thank you. And on to Human Resources Director, Dr. Childers.
Great, thank you. Our final 4 visa, J1 visa folks arrived this week, so we're fully staffed with our J1 folks. Employees will see their pay increase realized this September check, so this week. So employees, this is always a celebratory time of year when people get a chance to say, oh, you know, the reward for hard work. So thanks again to the board for helping to make that happen. And then finally, we have switched work comp carriers. We moved from Pinnacle to AmTrust, and that's going to save us about $50,000 this year. So,
Nice.
So it's, you know, not a bad thing. So there you go.
Thank you. Next, we have discussion items, and first on the agenda is the Fort Morgan High School girls wrestling team. I just really like the sound of that. Mr. Gross.
How's it going?
Good.
Good. So I was approached last year by a couple girls that they seen the state tournament last year be held at the Pepsi Center, and the girls are now held with the boys at the Pepsi Center. So they have their own mats. They have their own mat for the finals of the 10 weights of girls have in the high school brackets. And I kind of talked to them and I said, well, I know that there's 2 of you, but what we need is a team. If you guys put a team together, get some of your fellow students to come out, and it kind of gives them another pathway in the winter. Instead of just girls basketball, we can offer girls wrestling also with it. I had actually a meeting that last week of August. We had 13 or 14 show up that were interested, which was pretty awesome. I was expecting 6 or 7, but had 14, and then I decided, I was like, well, I guess the next step would be coming to the school board and seeing if they would feel like approving a program. I think we have, up here I have a little slideshow. We have two freshmen, 1 sophomore, 8 juniors, and 4 seniors that are interested. The season would be November 14th through the February 22nd, same as the boys wrestling. They can wrestle 10 tournaments and 10 duels throughout the season, same as boys. They wrestle in 1 division at state through all the Chatfields and Pomonas, and right now they only have 1 division for girls wrestling, but I think that's going to change here soon. They have 4 regions, so they'll go to a regional. They place top 4, I believe. They will move on to state. I talked about that. It's held with the boys, and then it's actually one of the largest growing sports in the nation. After some of them girls in the Olympic Training Center went over to the Olympics last year and winning gold medals, it's actually getting bigger and bigger in the state of Colorado. Some of the teams around here, we got Loveland that are within an hour and a half. Loveland, Fort Lupton, Meade, Poudre, Yuma, Severance, Platte Valley, Bennett, Northridge, Riverdale Ridge, Vista Peak, Skyview, Arvada, and Brush. There were 52 programs had at least 1 or more females competing at the state tournament last year at the Ball Arena. So that was pretty impressive. So I kind of went into it and kind of seen what it would cost for gear and stuff. We were thinking on doing instead of singlets like the guys have, we'd have a 2-piece uniform, the compression top and then fight short bottoms. And I kind of talked with those girls that were interested, and they said, yeah, I'd like that instead of wearing a singlet. And I said, all right, we'll try that. And that one would be like 110 a set, and I was just guessing 15 sets would be about $16.50. A hoodie for a warm-up, $29.95 each. Headgear, get about 15 of those. That'd probably be $30 each, $4.99, and then a bag for them. They're a little more expensive, $40. But the total cost for 15 participants would be like $3,198 for a one-time cost. That would be, we'd use that for as long as we can use them until they get holes in them or someone loses one. So, and this is kind of our mock-up. I had Rudis, one of the big wrestling companies, put a mock-up together of what the 2-piece would look like. They have that compression top, and then the fight short bottoms. They kind of have some maroon in them bottoms, and we can use those year to year. They're not a one-time use. We'd get many years out of them. So the annual cost would probably be like tournament cost, and we can only have 10 of those a year. And I'm not 100% certain on how much they charge. I know they charge the boys anywhere from $100 to $250 per tournament. So I'm guessing somewhere in the same range for girls. And sometimes they do it by how many you have. So if you have 4 or 5, they don't charge you a whole team cost. And then travel cost, like they were talking about bus drivers last year, we mainly drive ourselves every weekend. Not very many people want to wake up at 5:30 and get home at 10:30 at night. So that's what we do. Keeps the money down too for athletics and us. So it'd just be mileage and fuel. And then all tournaments and duels are mainly on the Front Range, but like duels around here like Yuma or Brush or Bennett, those are a lot closer that we'd be able to get to. So stipends, I would need to find an assistant coach, and I think I may have found one. She was a former female athlete back when I was in school here. She showed a lot of interest in it, so we'll see. And then the head coach stipend, or I could take the head coach position for that too and coach both boys and girls. So that'd be probably where it'd end up. There's not a whole lot of girls around here that can help me out and be a head coach or even a male. It's tough finding coaches. And then I got some pictures of the last state tournament. This is kind of our practice schedule. It'll be Monday through Friday, either in the morning or evenings, alternating with boys, depending on what our program sizes are. I'm thinking boys will probably be up there in the 25 range again. And then if the girls show up to be 16, 15, 16, then we're gonna have 30, almost 40, 41 in that room. And it'd be hard to do for one practice. But we'll also do like a technique day, week to week, where both programs are together, learning the same technique. And they're working together on that stuff. And then there's 10 varsity weights, so the 100s, 105s, 111s, 118s, 127, 136, 147, 161, 185, and 215. But I kind of put that middle one up there. Angel Rios, she was actually the first Colorado State girls placer, but that was in the boys division.
Yep,
Yeah.
I was there.
I was there.
And now they kind of have their own division, which is real awesome. And then the one on the left is Chatfield. They were the defending state champs.
Wasn't that the same year the girl won 6 too?
Huh?
There was a girl that won 6 that
Yep.
same year too.
Same bracket, 2 girls placed.
I don't think there was a dry eye in
In
the
the
place.
boys'
No.
It was amazing.
It was awesome.
She was a great wrestler.
Yeah. And the girls, I mean, since we had that meeting, it's been nothing but, have you heard yet? Are we doing it? Are we doing it? And I'm like, well, I gotta talk to them and we'll see. So, if you guys have any questions, maybe I can answer them or.
Would there be any conflict with the dates, like boys tournaments versus girls tournaments, or?
A little bit. That's kind of why I have like that extra assistant, and they drive them there. Or if she needs help, I'd go with them, and my other 2 assistants for the high school could go with the boys. I could kind of go back and forth, and it wouldn't bring too much conflict. I mean, maybe duels might conflict a little bit, but they're kind of their own program, so we're gonna have to figure that out. We'll have to schedule something. We haven't got too far into that yet, but it's a great idea for them. I think give them another alleyway to use, and there's more college teams in the nation every month. Seems like they're gaining a girls wrestling program. Iowa State or the Iowa Hawkeyes just started their girls program. So.
I think you said it already, but I just want to be clear for Title IX compliance. If we have a girl from this district that wants to wrestle, she would just wrestle with the boys right now, correct?
I'm not 100% sure on that.
Or would she go to Brush?
She would
Okay.
go with Brush.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was kind of thinking about that too. I was like, well, we'll see how many girls we have interested. And I know Brush has about 4 or 5. And I was like, if we have more than that, then we might as well just have our own program.
Right.
Great. So,
I hope I didn't miss it in your slideshow, but when are you planning to start? When is your start date anticipated?
well, it'd be November 14th is what we were thinking.
2022.
Yes. Yeah. And that's kind of they came up to me at the end of last year, and that's when.
And you could still get all that scheduled for this season?
I believe so. I believe we can do it.
The AD is saying yes.
Yeah.
So if we have the conversation tonight, and then it's not on for approval tonight, but if it were in the first week of, or first meeting next month, that gives you enough time, if it's approved, to schedule, to get everything going.
Yeah, I think
That
the only
meeting's
thing.
October 3rd, so.
Yeah, I think the only thing would be is just getting a uniform.
That's what I was going to
You
ask
never
you.
know.
with
I
the-
can, they said I told them I was going to talk to them tonight, and it'd probably be early October that we'd know for sure, or mid-October. And they're like, well, your first duel would probably be like December, first week of December. So we got plenty of time, I think. Yeah. Now just getting all them girls to come out. That's the big thing.
Do we still have the doublets that we had?
Yes, we do. We can still use those. Yep.
So we do have some uniforms until more uniforms arrive.
Yeah, from the boys program, yeah.
Okay.
So where would the funding for this come?
On the budget.
Thank you.
You know, it's
Very
not that
much.
huge of an expense, but I think it would be a hardship to put that in there. It just isn't a lot of money for the benefit, so we'll find a way.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I do too. I think it's great.
And I've known a lot of girls
Yep.
who wrestle, and they're tough.
Yeah.
Would you host a tournament this year? Or
Yeah, we
host
could.
duels this
Yeah.
year?
I might be a little late to get teams out, but I think We definitely host duels.
But that would start generating revenue.
Yeah.
It's a
I
great
saw them
idea.
wrestle at the state championship last week. That was impressive.
It was pretty cool.
Yep.
There were some good wrestlers.
Super good wrestlers out there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if we have a fundraiser, we can fundraise too. All right, thank you for
Thank
your
you,
time,
guys.
guys.
Thank you. It's great.
I would assume.
Good idea.
Okay, the next discussion item is public relations position for the district. Who's
Just looking for your
discussing?
thoughts on it now that I've kind of thrown it out there.
So would that person do some help with the school websites?
Yes,
Who badly need help?
yes, that would be part of the job, as well as posting on every social media platform that we are part of, as well as
I just think it's hard to
gathering.
keep those updated and keep those current and keep
Yeah, you're-
staff members and.
Well, and I think there's,
events and-
everybody's spread thin, and it's hard to get that
Right.
on there, and if you have somebody that's specifically designated
It's
for
not a
that,
priority, right?
man, that's their priority.
Do you
Well, and
think
getting
it-
ahead of that social media is huge.
Do you think it's enough work for a part-time position? I mean, we had talked about BOCES. Did you ever look into that?
Oh, I had not looked into BOCES, but I certainly can, but I think it's enough work for part-time. I wouldn't say full-time,
Right.
but part-time, definitely. Part-time with website could be,
Yeah.
at least initially, could be quite busy.
And I think I told you I have somebody you could visit with.
Mhm, yeah.
She's retired, but that was her profession, so she could give us some advice if you wanted to chat.
I hadn't reached out yet because I wanted to wait for this to see if it was
She's
worth
in Florida right now.
pursuing.
I think it's a great idea.
I like it.
Yeah. Just looking for thoughts, thumbs up, we'll start looking, and maybe we can bring it back for approval at some point and start exploring them. And I will check with Dr. Zila at BOCES to make sure they don't have somebody existing, but even if they did, I don't know why we wouldn't know about them by now. So,
Thank you.
yes, thank you.
Thank you. So, release agreement with the city of Fort Morgan. Can we just not discuss it and just vote on it later? Is there any more to discuss about it?
Not really, it's just,
Here's what it
It's
is.
about
if anybody had any questions or anything.
I mean, but we're only recouping a part of what we
Yeah.
spent. I mean, we're not recouping anywhere near what we spent on
We submitted
I thought it was pretty much a dollar for dollar receipt. That's what I understood. 'Cause when I talked to, who did I talk to over there, Bev? Do you remember? You gave me the name.
Brent.
Was it Brent? Yeah. And he said that it was pretty much what they paid them, the gas company, and then they're just a flow through at this point to pay us, and it was a dollar for dollar thing. So,
And we've seen the documentation on that, the receipts and everything to back that up.
I would assume so. This happened, what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
long,
It was a
yes.
long time ago.
it. It was an ongoing ordeal.
Yes. Long before I got here.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah,
Oh, but you get to close the deal.
yeah, I get to close it. That's,
All right. Moving right along. The discussion item D, 4-day school week update.
yeah, I just wanted you to know what's in here. You've got the community meeting summaries, for both the Spanish and so we had 2 Spanish-speaking meetings. I'm gonna tell you what, those were some of the most energizing meetings I've been to. They were so fun, neat people. But a lot of good information in there, so you have that broke down. You have the community meeting, you've got all the surveys from the support center staff includes people that didn't really have a home, so that's gonna include like our school psychs and some of those things that don't really have a home. So anyone who didn't have a home was put in there. And then we broke it down by elementary, and again, middle school, high school staff, and then we went to the parents, and I just broke it down as elementary parents, those that have kids in just the secondary, 6 through 12, and then those that have kids in both. I put in some things. There's a study that was done in North Dakota, and it looks at some stuff in Colorado and very briefly in Colorado, but mostly in South Dakota. Very interesting study. There was also some seat time paper in there. There's a seat time paper in there that was about ranks every state in the nation from how much seat time is required. Some require hours, some require minutes, some require just days, some require days and hours, and so it's all broke down in a spreadsheet from top to bottom, from highest to lowest. I think Texas was the highest one with 1,200 hours, and I don't remember the lowest, but it was like 850 hours, I think.
Like Switzerland or something?
Like Maine or something like that. I can't remember. Vermont, I can't remember which one. Then there's a Fort Morgan business survey that was put in there. We've got, there's just a paper in there that was written by an assistant superintendent in Brighton about seat time. There's some daycare responses in there. 3 out of 4 responded, I believe. And I don't know if we heard from the 4th. And that's pretty much it. There's also, did we have the link for the CDE 4-day manual? I thought I put that in there somewhere.
Is that this?
It's the,
Oh, it's 4-day school week manual.
4-day school week manual, it's in there.
yeah, 4-day school week manual. And that one was written in 2000, well, it was updated in 2022, but I think it was written in 2011 and then updated in 2022, and it was written by John Penn, a study that was done by CDE on the 4-day week. So there's two different studies you can look at there, give you different perspectives on both. And so I just thought, if you have any questions about what's in there, if you want to, if there's anything more you need to see, and if you spend some time with this over the next few weeks, and whether or not you want to schedule a work session to dig into it, or how exactly you want to go about it.
I got another response today from a daycare, something to do with daycare, but I've been up to my neck in epithelial tissue, so I didn't do anything with that today. So, and yes, if any of you caught that, that was a joke, up to my neck in epithelial tissue. So at any rate,
I got it.
So I will get that to you, and you can put it in with the daycare responses, and I think I'm going to hear back from someone else too. Not really sure.
There's a lot of stuff in there to consider, a lot of good comments, a lot of things do center around daycare, food, what kids are going to do on the day off, a lot of questions around that. So I would encourage you to look at all the written responses that people had to write out, quite a bit. I read through them all, so there's some really good comments and some interesting comments. So, but I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad we have the information, and it's for you to kind of dig through now. Any suggestions on anything else you might want to see before we get into
I
it?
personally think we definitely need another work session about it. And I don't know about you guys, but I think we need a work session. We can't talk in this format.
So
And a work session is still open to the public, it's just, it's so much easier to talk around than like this.
Okay.
I think the main idea behind doing the work session would be getting the details together, making sure that it would work, taking and addressing all of the main concerns and coming up with some solutions, because we've already discussed some of the solutions, and the solutions are actually some opportunities if we do go ahead with it. So I think that would be the main thing behind doing a work session versus talking it out in public for 3 hours.
Okay.
I hope we're not going to mess that one.
Agreed.
Do you want to do that before the next board meeting? Or do you want to wait till the second one in October?
I think it would be better to do it sooner than
Sooner
later.
than later.
It's very fresh in everybody's minds. It seems like everybody's kind of wanting to know.
So how hard was it to get the work session with Randy Zila? I've been trying since July, so
it was-
if you think we can all get together by then.
Yeah, so what I would say, if we're going to do a work session on this, we do it before the next board meeting. So it's already on the schedule, it's already there, if we can make that work. Does that work? Or can you do that?
Can, yeah.
Or is that another thing we got to send out days that everybody's available? Because
Well,
I'm here.
2 weeks. Not to mention if, some of the proposed solutions or opportunities, what if they don't end up being practical?
So
We might I think giving ourselves more time, just my opinion.
So what if we did something kind of crazy? And we said, okay, our October was the 7th meeting? Third meeting?
Third.
Is not a meeting, it's a work session. And we just call it the work session, we have it, rather than a meeting, we have a work session in place of a board meeting.
We could have a work session before the meeting.
I don't think we'll have a lot on that agenda being 2 weeks away. We could have both. We could start at 7 and have the work session and have the discussion, and then if we have to have anything approved, then we just go right into opening the meeting. I've done that before too.
I'm good with that.
And even move it back, if we can start, if it's at 7, that's fine. We can start at 6. We could have a compromise or just leave it at 7. I personally don't care.
I mean,
we
we
just-
are going to have that week, we have
Availability.
the meeting with Dr. Zila as well.
Mhm.
So we have the regular meeting Monday, and then we have another work session on Wednesday.
And we can push that to actually, we can, if we don't have anything for the 7th, or the 3rd, I keep thinking it's the 7th. If we don't have anything for the 3rd, we could actually just change our second meeting in October to a work session and have Randy Zila as a work session. Well, the second meeting is a work session / board meeting to get what the business done, quick, hitting meeting. So we could actually cancel our 3rd meeting, October 3rd meeting, if we wanted to. And then we could turn around and have the 5th with Randy, a work session. He's only going to take an hour. And then we could turn around on the, what's the 17th, is it?
Yes.
17th of October and have a very short meeting if we have to have anything on there for approval. And then have that turn that into a work session. If that makes sense.
Well, what I'm hearing is that you're not going to do any business meetings in the month of October.
If we need a business meeting, we would add that whatever we need to put on there for the business. Because what I'm watching with our business meetings in the last couple months, they haven't been too long.
That's regular school schedule.
I'm just trying to find solutions.
But you're not gonna-
So,
We do have the UIPs.
oh, the UIPs are on the,
Are they on the 3rd or the 17th?
they're on the
Well,
17th.
thanks to CDE, they pushed it back by 10 days. So we're going to go for the second meeting in October. They're due the 25th of October instead of the
So that's
15th.
not a good idea then.
I'm sorry, I was thinking about any business
I
that's coming
remember
up for
that too.
federal programs, but the UIPs are going to have to be
Yeah.
approved.
Yeah, that's.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't usually take that long.
Well, we can work on that later. But how many of you guys want to have a work session for the purposes of discussing the 4-day school week?
I just think.
I'd like another one.
I just
we
think.
need to.
Yeah,
I think we need to.
Yeah, we need another work session, so we'll figure it out.
We'll figure out a date.
Figure
Perfect.
it out. And whether we have that before the October 3rd meeting or before the 17th.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, not on the 5th. I already don't want to meet that night. But I will. All right, so, moving on, policy DKC-R, expense authorization reimbursement. This is the 3rd reading of this policy. And I believe we're gonna go for another reading, so we are not gonna vote on that tonight. And that is because we added in other people, other positions.
Two positions that use their phones, utilize their phones extensively, and one of them's here.
All right,
Yes.
so is there any discussion about that policy and the positions that have been added? All right. Moving on to discussion item F. This is the policies, the district revisions. This is the 2nd reading of those. Are there any questions? Is there any discussion about the 2nd reading? Okay, moving on to discussion item G, policies for 1st reading. These are CASB.
These are just
Okay.
CASB recommended.
So these are
Policies.
policy revisions for BEC, GBAB, GBEA, GBJ, IC-ICA, NA.
That's a sample resolution if we,
Okay. I'm like,
if
what?
we need it, about remote learning.
HCDA, JFAB, JFABA, JFABE-R, JFBA, JFBB, LBD-R. All right, no more discussion on that. So moving along to the consent agenda, we have personnel action report, and we have 2 months of lists of checks, July 22 and August 22. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Rob Cruz?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Proudy?
Aye.
Melissa Smith?
Aye. Next, we have action items. Action item A is the National FFA Convention in Indianapolis, October 26th through 29th, 2022. And we have the students participating and the itinerary, schedule, and student workshops. It's the pleasure of the board.
Thank
Move
you.
to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Sounds like fun. Roll call, please.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Rob Cruz?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Proudy?
Aye.
Melissa Smith?
Aye. Next, we have the Baker Elementary Baker Bash donations. That would be from Luprino only, correct? Just Luprino? Oh,
I
and then
think
we have
all
the
of them.
sponsors for the Baker
Sponsors
Bash
for the
are
Luprino.
listed there, so that's quite a list. That's wonderful.
You need, I move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Other than how nice?
Right, very much.
Roll call, please.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Rob Cruz?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Proudy?
Aye.
Melissa Smith?
Aye. And then we have the added on action item C for the release of the, for the release agreement with the city of Fort Morgan, so we can finally get the deed to the property we own.
Amen.
Was the pleasure of the board?
This one is for the
This is
money.
different.
This one's for the money.
Wait, what?
This is the money.
This was the money, so we can accept the money from the
Accept
city.
They're
money
still
from the
working
city
on
and
the
release
other
that
one.
from
We aren't at a point where we
This is the
can.
money.
All right, so it's the money
For the
thing,
boilers.
for the boilers. Really? This is what?
It was the boiler issue at the middle school.
Yeah, this is.
Oh, that.
Yeah, that's
I
what
thought we
2 years
voted on that last time.
We had contaminated water.
No,
I
no,
think
I
we
remember
voted
that.
that.
Yeah. All right, so this is releasing the funds so that we can pay for the boilers from the city of Fort Morgan. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Now that I finally know what we're talking about. Roll call, please.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Rob Cruz?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Proudy?
Aye.
Melissa Smith?
Aye. Next item up is newsletters. You have before you September newsletters from Sherman, Green Acres, Baker, and Pioneer. And they're all very entertaining. Advanced Planning Board of Education meeting is in October, our October 3rd and 17th, pending any changes we might make. And I'm going to include on that on October 5th at 5:30. We have a meeting with Dr. Randy Zila, finally, to get the whole contract with McPherson and Jacobson approved. And then we have the Fort Morgan High School Homecoming Week is October 3rd through 8th. And then October 14th is Professional Development Day. And then fall break is starting Monday, October 17th. I don't think it's just one day, is it?
The kids have 2 days.
Friday.
The teachers
Kids
have
have
one
Friday.
day.
Friday. They have Friday and Monday.
All right, and if there is nothing else to come before the board, we are adjourned
What's the?
at 8:14 p.m.